What's up, VCs, founders, and the entrepreneur curious? You've made it, and you're here. It's Venture Daily with me, Peter Saddington. What's up, guys? I hope you're having a wonderful morning this morning. It is Friday after all. Smash the like button. Make sure that you subscribe, share, and leave a comment. You guys know how I love your comments, giving me ideas, giving me questions, especially for my final segment of every show, the final word. If you ask me a question, I can answer it, guys. So for today's show, I got some great news bits, some intriguing news bits, actually. The first one is around Snapchat, staying above the fray when it comes to internet censorship and all of those types of things. Google and IBM, well, that's the second news bit. They want some regulation on AI. Wait. What does this mean? Does this mean that we're going to have to put regulations on artificial intelligence because there's the potential that artificial intelligence is going to destroy us?
Nope.
Maybe they know something that we don't. And last but not least, the .org domain. .org domain might be falling into private hands. Is this a problem for the internet service providers and consumers? Could be, but we don't know. We don't know until we go through it. Let's get into the first piece of news. How Snapchat has dodged the tech lash on permitted speech. Snapchat's CEO Evan Spiegel says his company has managed to avoid heavy criticism over speech issues by clearly dividing private, largely unregulated, communications from heavily moderated public broadcasts. So why does this matter? Well, you guys well know Facebook, Twitter, and the YouTubes have all struggled in recent years over where to draw the line on permitted speech. So what are they saying? Well, responding to the question from Axios while speaking at the DLD conference in Munich on Sunday, Spiegel said that the Snapchat has modeled how it treats speech after existing institutions. Quote, one of the things that we have been able to do is to borrow significantly from history, Spiegel said. When it comes to private communication, people expect a conversation to remain private, and if the government wants access, it needs to get a warrant. By contrast, he said broadcasters have always been subject to a range of restrictions. Quote, there's a different level of responsibility when you are talking to an audience that's large, he said. So here's the question, guys. Here's the question that immediately comes up in my mind. When you get large enough, when your influence, when your audience gets large enough, do you move into the public square? Do you move out of just private conversations to a public square model? So is the function of regulation and the function of censorship really based on a function of size of audience? If so, this could be a big problem. Consider this, guys. Where do we draw the line when it comes to conversations online? What if you're just talking to one person or a couple people, or those couple people suddenly become 100 people? Where do we draw the line on regulation? This is a tough question, guys, and it's not going to be solved easily. When it comes to online platforms, the biggest problems lie in the middle ground between those two, he said, public and private. Here, they have been powerfully positive uses of social media, but also incredibly damaging one. Quote, I think as a society, we haven't yet decided on how we want to tackle that and think about this new tool, he said. I do think that this is some sort of existential question at the moment. And I'll tell you, my friends, I don't quite have the answer. That's for sure. That uncertainty, said, is showing up in the debate over whether to revisit Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act, which legally protects platforms that post users' speech. Snapchat plays in the middle ground too, but it does so cautiously, whereas the space where Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube have all built their empires. On Snapchat, user-generated public stories can get pulled into stories around major public events on the Snap Map. These stories can be widely consumed by anyone publicly, but are designed to be consumed at a more local level, by users who are located near a natural disaster, for instance. Be smart, says Spiegel. Look to the broadcasters is an argument, one that he's been refining for years. Here he's making it, the last time he said it was in 2018, that he means he's learning from other old rules of broadcasting. You have to tell people the same thing over and over again before they get the message. Well, that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this, because the last thing that Spiegel said here is actually one of the most powerful things that you can remember if you're building a startup or you're a venture capitalist, or you're an entrepreneur, curious individual when it comes to this side hustle or startup or business that you're building. You have to keep reminding people of what you're doing. You have to keep repeating yourself. I read a Seth Godin article I think it was just the other day, where he said, you're the only one. Consider this, guys. Lean in. Listen to this. He said, you're the only one. You're the only one that has heard everything. Now, what did he mean by that? What he meant by that is you're the only one that's heard everything that you've ever said. Not everyone in the world has heard what you've had to say. And so if you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur, curious individual, or you're a venture capitalist, or you're merely trying to build a personal brand, you have to continue to repeat yourself over and over and over again. I know, especially as I wouldn't say an influencer, I'm not an influencer, but as a YouTuber, let's just put it that way, as a social media individual, a social media content producer, I have to remember this as well. Repeat, 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 repeat. The message might be stale to you, but to many out there who haven't heard it yet, you need to repeat it so that they can know what you're all about. The second news item for today is Google, IBM both call for regulations on AI. Google and IBM have both called for global regulations on artificial intelligence in recent days, warning that the technology has the potential to bring significant negative consequences along with potential good, says Axios. Maybe they know something, guys, that we don't. So why does this matter, guys? Well, lawmakers are largely scrambling to play catch-up on AI regulation as technology continues to grow. Pichai did not provide specific proposals, but did urge while speaking at the Bruegel European Economic Think Tank Monday that international alignment between the US and the EU will help ensure AI is primarily used for good. Oh, so what you're saying is that a bunch of dudes in a meeting room are going to make the world safer because they're talking about it and thinking about it and will eventually, slowly, create some policies around it. Guys, this is not how the world works. Just because the news says that there are guys thinking about it and will create policies around it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to control it. I.e., example, blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. We've seen regulations on this for almost a decade now. Ideas on it that span a decade now. And have they stopped it? No. Actually, they're joining the fray. So maybe what these guys, Google and IBM, are really talking about, and this might be the Illuminati here. Nope. But maybe what they're really talking about is that they want to regulate it so that they can leverage it to their advantage first. Isn't that usually how big companies control things? Power. Pichai also delivered his thoughts on the matter in an op-ed for the Financial Times on Sunday, writing, quote, "There are real concerns about the potential negative consequences of AI, from deepfakes to nefarious uses of facial recognition." Which, by the way, in my opinion, guys, when it comes to these deepfakes and facial recognition, it hasn't affected me. Maybe that's why I'm ignorant of it, but I just don't see that being a major problem. It's only like the super influential on TV that care about this stuff, but no one's listening to them anyway. It's mainstream media, guys. It's 2020. While there is already some work being done to address these concerns, there will inevitably be more challenges ahead that no company or industry alone can solve. IBM has also issued a fresh call for precision regulation of AI, expanding on principles of accountability, explainability, and fairness it laid out last year, calling for global standards. It also called out the issue of bias, specifically arguing that discrimination, quote, should never be considered acceptable. Sure. Whether it's done by human or machine. Ooh, that's an interesting. The government is also urging transatlantic consensus on AI regulation, which would deliver a unified counter to China's authoritarian use of the technology. It would also ensure Europe doesn't charge ahead with more stringent AI regulation on Silicon Valley than Silicon Valley is prepared to accept. Here's a flashback, if you didn't remember. Google has long grappled with the nuances of AI and government. The company in 2018 announced it wouldn't renew a controversial Pentagon contract to analyze drone footage via AI, citing a conflict of its own principles. That's interesting. Usually Google doesn't really care about its own principles, because when it comes to their whole idea of don't be evil, yeah, they went over that line a long time ago. So in the same speech, Pichai suggested that Google would want a temporary waiting period on introducing facial recognition technology until a regulatory framework is in place. Europe is weighing such a temporary ban on public use of facial recognition. So what's on the other side? Microsoft Brad Smith argued against such a move, saying that there is only one way at the end of the day to make technology better than that is to use it. If you want it, that's a relatively good argument, guys. If you want technology to get better, use it. Make sure that the more that you use it, it becomes proliferated. The more that it becomes proliferated around the world, the more developers, engineers, and idea makers, maybe the entre procurious, will want to create applications around it and spread it even more. And maybe, just maybe is what he's arguing here, is that the more use of technology will create normalization of standards and practices that are generally morally and culturally accepted. Who knows? But I will tell you this, when it comes to any type of regulation by a bunch of bigwigs in a meeting room, I mean, just keep your eye on Bitcoin and blockchain. If you keep your eye on Bitcoin and blockchain and how regulation has tried and changed and become more loose, there are certain technological considerations, certain technological ideas, certain technological markets that, in my opinion, can't ever fully be regulated. Let the free market reign. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Last news article for today could be a doozy. Esther Dyson fights for the .org privatization. From 1998 to 2000, Esther Dyson was the founding chairman of ICANN, a group that oversees the web addresses that are handed out. Now she is urging the organization to block the administration of .org domains from being turned over to a private company in a deal valued more than $1 billion. Cha-ching, guys. So why does this matter? Well, .org domains have traditionally been used by nonprofits and organizations rather than commercial entities. So what's driving this news? The Internet Society has announced the sale of the Public Internet Registry, the entity that controls the .org domain, to Ethos Capital, a private equity firm, which we'll end up probably covering here on our venture deal someday if it ever goes through. Opponents worry that the move will inevitably lead to higher prices for .org domains as the new owner works to make its huge investment pay off. Well, isn't that how it kind of works, guys? Is that you buy a company out and then you make some structural, some framework, some organizational changes so that you can get your investment back. Or you leverage that money to improve the company overall so that you can get the investment back. There are multiple levers to pull whenever you acquire a company. So why is this a problem? If they're going to buy the company, they're going to make some changes. Maybe some of those changes will increase prices, which will reduce the amount of the ability for consumers to buy stuff. Isn't that part of the market dynamics? What's the problem here? Is it a philosophical problem that is going into private hands? Well, I don't know where I stand on this, because generally, well, I do know where I stand on this. It's kind of a middle ground of sorts, but when it comes to government managing anything, they generally do a piss poor job. And so privatization of any type of government utility or government offering, you can argue with me in the comments below. Let me know if you, leave your comment below. But I find that the private sector generally wins out when it comes to customer quality, customer experience, these types of things. Let's be honest. If we completely privatized the mail industry, got rid of the U.S. the postal service, we'd have better service for sure. Would the prices raise a little bit? Potentially. But then again, now I'm moving into areas in which I don't know what I'm talking about. So let me know in the comments below your ideas. Quote, if the Internet Society wants a more steady income, we want to work with them. But we don't want them to sell .org off to the highest bidder, Dyson said in an interview with DLD in Munich on Sunday. Dyson is a board member of Cooperative Corporation for .org Registrants, a group that is seeking to create an alternative to the sale. We don't want to buy .org, Dyson said. We want, if necessary, to create a governance structure for it. And then we want to resign in favor of a new board elected by the 10 million plus entities using .org domains. So maybe we need to go back and learn some history. The Internet Society, which dates back to 1992, seeks to promote openness and continue technology development for the Internet. Its major funding source is the Public Internet Registry. Of its $51 million in 2019 revenue, more than $44 million came from the PIR, per its financial statements. The Society's chairman is Vint Cerf, a co-creator of the TCP/IP protocol that underlies today's Internet. Quote, the .org domain has been run by a for-profit entity in the past, and there's no requirement for it to be managed by a nonprofit in the future, the Society declares on a frequently asked questions page. The .org domain is not exclusively for nonprofits. As an open domain, it includes many for-profit organizations. I would agree. In many cases in the past, I've actually bought .org domains as a mechanism to focus on the organization itself, but I'm still a for-profit company. I've always looked at internet domains as a mechanism for filtering out the context, or at least having people who visit my websites understand the context in which I'm trying to promote my information. If it's a .org, it should be focused around the organization. If it's a .com, it's for commercialization. If it's a .io, it's probably because it's internet related at some level, right? And so for me as a consumer, I always buy domain handles based on the context that I want to create for the user. I never really think about, hey, .org should only be for nonprofits. So I think maybe Dyson here, this lady here, she might be a little bit past her prime. It's the internet, sweetie. It's the internet. People are going to buy domains for whatever they want. Regulating them, creating a... It's just too heavy-handed in my opinion. Well, anyway, last thing here. The Electronic Frontier Foundation have called the Internet Society to call off the deal. I think this is one of those news bits where at the end of the day, let the market decide. If they want to sell it off for $1 billion, they got to make money. They're in it to make money anyway. It's a business, after all. Let me know your usage for the .org domain or any other comments on any of these other news bits. Thanks for being with me, guys. Let's move into the Venture News, or Venture Daily, or not Venture News. Venture Daily. Venture Daily is our newsletter. I meant Venture Deals, guys. There's so many ventures out there. True startup story, guys. You got it. Your company just got seed round financed. Congratulations. You're going to the moon. But now you have to scale. You found great talent out in California, New York, Georgia, and even Eastern Europe. So what communications platform will you be using to ensure your international team is always aligned? Well, the answer is easy. Slack.com for Teams. We've used Slack for all of our previous startups, and they've supported us in tremendous ways. And we want to give them a thanks today for supporting VCHunting.com. Did you also know that Slack is a great tool for personal use? Yeah, I use my own personal Slack channel to drop in documents, notes, to-dos, and follow-ups to ensure that my workflow throughout the day is right on course. I promise you, if you try out slack.com for personal use, you'll end up using it for your team as well. Go to slack.com to check it out. Welcome back, everyone, to Venture Daily. That's right, Venture Daily, the fastest growing. That's right, the fastest growing daily show in all of venture media. Make sure to follow us on tweeters at AgilePeter so you can keep up to date. I just dropped the other day Ryan Floyd's little VC100 Twitter story about what is the measure of a man? What is the measure of a person? It's worth noting, guys. Also, make sure to join our daily newsletter every Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We're dropping the Daily Hunt, news that you can use. And let's move in, my friends, to Venture Deals for January 27th, 2020. It's Monday. It's the beginning of the week, my friends. Let's dig it. GoPuff, a Philadelphia-based on-demand delivery startup, raised $750 million. Whoa, hallelujah. Uh-oh, it's from SoftBank. Nope. GoPuff, a Philadelphia-based on-demand delivery startup, raised $750 million in funding from SoftBank in August, with an option to invest an additional $250 million in 2020. Is that going to work out? Nope. You let me know. Oh, SoftBank, you guys are putting a lot of money into a lot of ideas. Are you going to get your return? Nope. Avid Exchange, a Charlotte, North Carolina-based provider of accounts payable and payment automation solutions for the middle market, raised $260 million in funding. TPG Sixth Street Partners led the round. Apps Flyer, an Israel-based mobile ad attribution company, raised $210 million in a Series D funding at the valuation of $1.6 billion. Booyah, General Atlantic led the round. SNCC, a London-based security company, raised $150 million. Whoa. $150 million in funding at a valuation of more than $1 billion. Stripes led the round. Conto, a Paris-based challenger business bank, raised $150 million in Series C funding. Tencent and DST Global co-led the round. ScoutBee, nice name. ScoutBee Inc., a Germany-based supplier discovery platform, raised $60 million in Series B funding. Atomico led the round and was joined by investors including Lakestar, Next 47, and HV Holtz something. The next one, The Athletic, a San Francisco-based subscription-based digital sports and media company, raised $50 million in Series D funding, according to Axios. Bedrock Capital co-led the round. Not bad. Flutterwave, a San Francisco-based payments technology company with operations in Africa, raised $35 million in Series B funding. Graycroft and eVentures co-led the round. Self Robotics, a Cambridge, Massachusetts-based robotics company, raised $23 million in Series B funding. Collaborate Ventures and Material Impact co-led the round. Home, a Berlin-based company aiming to reduce complexity in the housing experience, raised $11 million or $12.2 million in Series A funding. Investors include Capnamic. I'm going to click on this, guys, because I don't understand what they're saying here. Listen to what it said. Home, a Berlin-based company aiming to reduce complexity in the housing experience. Oh, now I know what it means. Not personal housing experience, because that can't be that complex. We're talking about renting out, made simple, sign a lease and with a home and collect rent every month. I see. How home works. Request a free offer, sign a contract, and collect rent every month. Really? There's no risk involved with this whatsoever? Like, I guess the people that rent your stuff are perfect and they're not going to destroy your home? Yeah, let's click on how it works. How to rent out your apartment into a home and collect rent every month without having to do anything. Really? So they do the rest? This is intriguing, guys. Intriguing. Well, if you guys want more information on that, you can go to home.ht for more information on that. Elder, a UK-based home care alternative, raised $10.7 million in funding. Investors include Action Capital and MMC Ventures. Congratulations. Mine, an Israel-based company that helps people manage their personal data online, raised $3 million in seed funding. Investors include Battery Ventures and Sabin Ventures. In private equity, Magna Legal Services, a portfolio company of Civic Partners, acquired Record Track, Inc., a King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, based provider of litigation support solutions for law firms. Congratulations. Ares Holdings, a portfolio company of Ares Management Company, agreed to acquire controlling interest in SSG Capital Hodlings Limited. Not bad. And last but not least, Thompson Street Capital Partners and Sandbox InsurTech Ventures will acquire Data Dimensions, a Janesville, Wisconsin-based provider of outsourced document handling and workflow solutions. Those are your venture deals for January 27th, 2020. This is where the money is going, and this is where the money is flowing.
Did you know that there's even more value than just audio or video? Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at VC Hunting, and make sure to sign up for the VC Hunting newsletter, where you'll be able to get weekly news on venture capital, startups, founder stories, and the occasional wisdom extracted from Peter's brain. Go to vchunting.com to sign up. And now, back to the episode.
Welcome back to Venture Daily. You know, I have been a big fan of Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson. This is a great book. It says it doesn't have to be crazy at work. It's a great book. I've read many books, many great articles by Jason Fried. He's a little eccentric, but that, I think, is what really defines him. He plays outside the rules of venture capital. He plays outside the rules of the usual startup, and he is, in many ways, the antithesis to the grind, hustle, work ethic that is, in many ways, killing entrepreneurs. What do I mean by that? Is that there is a way, there is clearly a way to do great work daily. To complete your goals, to complete the mission without having to kill yourself. There has been an interesting backlash that I've been following on the tweeters about people who are talking about, hey, it is no longer cool to say that, hey, we're working 80 hours a week, working 20-hour days. This is always interesting to me because I generally am one of those people that end up working 18 to 20-hour days. But I understand it. He's a great guy. He's got some great quotes. And from today, we're going to pull from another quote from the Shrug calendar that I like here. Tear that off. Boom, boom, boom. This is a good one from Jason Fried. He said, top skills. Top skill for entrepreneur. Top skill, not skills. Top skill for entrepreneurs. Being great at ignoring what everyone else is doing. Being great at ignoring what everyone else is doing. What a great quote. I think it's completely true. When it comes to your hustle, whether you're a venture capitalist or a founder or even the entrepreneur, if you have a hustle, if you have something that you're doing, focus. Don't let the world around you distract you. There's so many distractions today, from the Instagrams, from the Tweeters, from the TikToks, from the Snapchattaroos. There's so many applications, email, push notifications, newsletters, videos, conference. There's 9,000 things, guys, that are vying for your attention. They're really vying for your attention. At the end of the day, and we talked about this on last Friday's episode, in the final word, is that no one at the end of the day is really thinking about you. And because of that, that should allow you the freedom to build, the freedom to focus, the freedom to work on what you're working on. Jason Fried reminds us of this today, of a top skill for an entrepreneur, being great at ignoring what everyone else is doing, because what they're doing doesn't involve you. They're not thinking about you. They're not caring about necessarily what you said. They just want to have a great experience with you if you're a content producer like me. Let's be honest. How many people are actually hanging out with me for the whole half hour? According to Google and YouTube, generally people are dropping off about 12 and a half minutes, which, by the way, is still really good, excellent in terms of consumer consumption length, which is really good, but most people don't last that long. And so focus on you. Do what you need to do. Don't get distracted. Don't pick up the phone. Don't have that ghost vibration that's in your phone that you think is someone pinging you. It's not there. It's not real. Build for yourself this decade. Build for yourself this year. Focus on what you're doing and ignore what everyone else is doing. Because at the end of the day, no one out there is going to build your dreams. No one out there cares about you enough to help you build your dreams. That's on you first. That's on you first. If you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go farther, find someone. Think about this, guys. Being great at ignoring what everyone else is doing, Jason Fried, I appreciate it. Guys, I hope you have a great weekend this week. Great weekend this weekend. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you on Monday.